Hi guys, it's Jodie and welcome to a new video. So today I have a very exciting video and I haven't done one of these for a while, and that is a book haul. Now this is going to be my biggest book haul to date. I'm going to be hauling 100+ books in this video, which is absolutely ridiculous, but I am going to give a disclaimer before I get into it. So I have accumulated all of these books over the last, I would say, about 5 to 6 months. So I haven't just gone and bought these all in a month. There's nothing wrong with that if I had. Yes, these are books that I have bought in the last few months. Now, some things to take into consideration as well. I am a bookseller, so I get an amazing discount on all of the books that I buy. I've also bought a lot of books from charity shops and secondhand, sent a lot of books by publishers, and I've been gifted a few books as well, and obviously used some of my loyalty card spends. So yes, please take all of that into account, and I do recognise I am very privileged. I'm very lucky to have all of these books. I do know that, but yeah, there is absolutely no shame in buying loads of books at all. Buy as little or as many as you want. It's your money, it's your business, and at the end of the day, this helps to keep the publishing industry going, so I'm fine with it. You don't need to worry about how much money this cost me. It's my business. I'm just going to say that because I do know that this can be a bit of a touchy subject for some people, and some people don't like book hauls or think that it's like consumerism and all of these things. For me, book collecting is also a hobby. I don't just read books, I do collect books as well. It is a big thing for me. I like to add to my collection. I like to buy multiple copies of books if they're my favourites, and so on. So yes, this is just personally what I have bought in the last few months, and I'm very happy with all of the books that I've bought in the last few months. So I do just want to say that little disclaimer before I got into the video, just so you guys understand that I like to buy books and collect books as well as read them. So yes, this is going to be a very big book haul, and obviously I cannot sit here and talk about over 100 books in detail because this video will be exceptionally long, and I don't want it to be too long. And personally, the reason I'm doing this as well is not to show off or anything of the sort. It's because I know so many people find new books through book hauls. I myself find most of the books that I want to read through either Bookstagram or through other people's book hauls. So I find them very useful in a way to find new books, maybe books you hadn't heard of before. So yes, hopefully you guys will find some books maybe you hadn't have heard of, or just find books you want to read from this video. So yes, without further ado, let's just get straight into the haul. I'm not going to give massive synopses for all of these books. Some I will just quickly show. Yeah, let's get on with it. The first book I have is the Final Girl Support Group by Gracie Hendricks, and this is a thriller slash a novel, and this is basically a book about a group of women who have all survived really horrific crimes. So like they have been the sole survivor of like a massacre, and they all attend this support group, and one of the girls in this group goes missing, and that's where the story starts. Someone is determined to destroy all of their lives one by one. Then next I have Down Comes the Night by Alison Saft. So if you've seen one of my recent reading vlogs, you will know that I did briefly start this book. I also broke the tassel on my bookmark, which is really sad. So this is a YA gothic fantasy story, and I am only literally like 8 pages into this. I decided I just wasn't really in the mood for it, and I think I'm gonna save this for winter because this is apparently a very like snowy kind of book. And basically this is described as a snow-drenched romantic fantasy that keeps you racing through the pages long into the night. So yeah, I feel like that describes the book perfectly. So if you do want to know more, I will have the books listed down below so you can read the full synopses, because I'm not going to give a full synopsis for all of these. But that is kind of the basic summary of this. There's fantasy, there's romance, it's kind of wintry, atmospheric, and it gives me like a cozy gothic dark academia vibes. So I'm definitely going to save this one for winter, I think, and I'm really excited to read it. So the next thing I'm going to haul is a series, and that is the, I can't remember what this is actually called, the Iron Fae series, and this is by Julie Kagawa, and yeah, this is from Fairy Loot. So they did an exclusive set, which is these ones here. So I have books 1 to 4 and then the most recent one. I don't know if this is a prequel or a sequel, I have no idea, but obviously I wanted the whole set, so I pre-ordered this with Fairy Loot as well. These covers, by the way, are just so beautiful. I'll quickly show you guys them. So this is the first book, which is The Iron King. In this this we actually follow a character called Megan, and when she was younger her father went missing and like just disappeared randomly, and she's always felt like something's been off about her life. And then 10 years later her little brother also goes missing, and that's when she really starts to think like, right, something is just not right about my family here. And she actually discovers that she is the secret daughter of a mythical fairy king and basically a pawn in this like kind of ancient war. And it says Megan will learn just how far she'll go to save someone she loves, to stop a mysterious evil no fairy creature dare face, and to find love with a young prince who might rather see her dead than let her touch his icy heart. So that just sounds like my kind of book, a fairy book. War in here, probably a bit of enemies to lovers. So yeah, I think this series sounds amazing. I'm so excited to read it. This is the first book, and then we have the second book, which is the Iron Daughter. Then we have the third book, the Iron Queen. I love this cover. And then we have the Iron Knight, which is the fourth book. And then we have this one, which is the Iron Raven. So yeah, this might be a side novel, I honestly don't know. The series is just so beautiful and I'm so excited to read it. I feel like I will absolutely love it. I know that it is super popular, but I just don't hear many people talk about it at the same time. So I would be really interested to read this and see if I do really like it. So next I have the second book in a series. I don't know if this is duology or I think maybe there is a third book coming out. I honestly can't remember. But this is the sequel to The Bridge Kingdom, and this is the Traitor Queen, and this is by Daniel L. Jensen. So I read The Bridge Kingdom recently and I absolutely loved it. Gave it 5 stars. It's a really good enemies to lovers. It starts with this princess and she has been trained along with all her sisters by her father to become like this absolutely amazing assassin, so that one day she has to fulfill this kind of like old contract thing with this other rival kingdom and become the queen there. And obviously the plan is for her to go in and kill him and take over the kingdom, and that does not happen, and it's absolutely incredible. It's not really fantasy, it's more fiction blended with fantasy. Like there's not really any magic in there or anything, but it's just such like a good kind of like enemies to lovers kind of story, and it's just amazing. So obviously I bought the second book. I did start the audio for this a while ago, but I haven't listened to it in like a month, so I do really want to continue with it because the first book ended on like a massive kind of cliffhanger. So I'm really excited to see where the rest of the story goes and what happens to our main characters. This book is literally perfect for fans of Throne of Glass, so I'd highly recommend it if you do like Throne of Glass. So then next we have a book I recently got in a Lumicrate box, which is The Devil Makes 3, and this is by Tori Bovalino. This is just such a stunning book. Like I'm obsessed with this, and under the dust jacket as well. Oh, it's so pretty. Basically we have 2 characters called Tess and Elliot, and they stumble upon this ancient book that's been like buried in a secret tunnel in their school library, and they accidentally release a devil. So then they have to work together to be able to try and retrap this devil again. So it just sounds absolutely amazing and really spooky, and I like the whole like devil thing. So yeah, this might be a really fun read. Okay, so next I have You Got Us by E. Foley and B. Coates, and this one is a bit of like a random one, so I don't really know what genre you put this in. It's kind of mythology and self-help mixed together. Basically this is a really feminist kind of book, and it takes all of the really powerful mythical legendary women in folk tales and things like that, and it gives you information about each one, and it tells you how to draw inspiration and life advice from these amazing powerful women throughout history. Obviously we're talking about like goddesses and things, so I really enjoyed this when I read it. It's just a really fun like book to read, and I would definitely recommend it if you're into like mythology and stuff like that. It's just really fun, and I did learn a lot as well. I really do love this cover. I have this one, which is What Would Bodicia Do, and this is by E. Foley and B. Coates as well, and it says everyday problems solved by history's most remarkable women. So this is the same kind of book, but this actually is focused on real life women throughout history and women who did amazing things, and how you can apply how they were to your own life and make yourself basically a girl boss. So yeah, I haven't read this yet, but I'm really excited to. Another stunning cover as well. So next I have another sequel, which is Bone Crier's Dawn by Catherine Purdy, and this is the sequel to Bone Crier's Moon, which I read last year and really enjoyed. It has enemies to lovers in there. It's kind of witchy. It has really cool kind of magic system, and I really enjoyed it, but I definitely do need to reread it before I can read this one because I don't remember bits of it. But yeah, this is just the sequel, so I'm obviously not going to go into what this is about. This is the signed Fairy Loot edition to match Bone Crier's Moon, which I got in a Fairy Loot box. So yeah, I'm really excited to get to this. Then I have another book in a series, which is The Box in the Woods. So I'm pretty sure this is in the Truly Devious trilogy. I haven't read it yet. I own the first and third book. I still need to get the second one. I do really want to read it soon because I've heard that it's an amazing thriller kind of murder mystery series, and I feel like I would really enjoy it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I did pre-order this one, and I believe this is related to the trilogy. Don't know a lot about it, but I'm going to read this obviously once I've read the trilogy. Then next I do have some contemporaries. So I have Some Other Now by Sarah Everett. So this is a book that I pre-ordered at the start of the year. It says it's a gorgeous lyrical novel about love, lost family and the ties that bind us. Every moment of Jessie's poignant story stole my heart. Stunning and romantic, a rare book that will break your heart and put it back together. So yes, this just sounds like a really fun kind of romantic contemporary, and I feel like it will deal with some really important topics as well. So yes, I have this one. Okay, so I have a bunch of romancy books here. So first up is Xoxo by Axie, and I read this recently, gave it 5 stars. This is one of my favourite romance books ever. It was so freaking cute and I loved it, and I binge read it. It's literally just amazing. It's perfect if you're a K-pop fan, because the love interest in this book is actually a K-pop superstar, and our main character accidentally bumps into him in LA, doesn't know who he is, and she goes to a music school in Korea where it turns out he also goes, and she finds out he's a K-pop star, and they like really connected the first night that they met, and then they slowly develop a little romance. But obviously like he's not allowed to be in a relationship because he's a K-pop star and all of this, and it's just a super cute romance. I absolutely adored it. It was so good, and honestly I recommend this so much, especially if you're a fan of K-pop or you just want a really cute romance to read, then this is definitely perfect. Next I have Made in Korea by Sarah Suk, and this one I cannot wait to read. In this one it's kind of enemies to lovers, I believe, or rivals to lovers. We have 2 characters who both have Korean beauty brands, and they both go to school and sell the products there, and they kind of like battle it out with each other to outsell each other and stuff, and then I think they end up developing a little romance, and it just sounds really cute. I did briefly start this when I had a hospital appointment. I read like 10 pages, but I was really enjoying it so far, so I definitely do want to read this soon because it just seems like it'll be really cute. Then next I have Meet Cute Diary by Emery Lee, and this is a rom-com. I believe it's super cute, and it says on the back, the diverse cast of characters, pronouns and gender expressions creates opportunities for readers to finally see themselves represented in a book. A heartfelt story about the complexities of identity, growing up and defining ourselves. So this sounds amazing. I've heard so many good things about this as well, so I cannot wait to get to this at some point in the near future, and I feel like it will be a really cute read. Then next I have Last Chance Books, and this is by Kelsey Rodkey, and this one is basically I think 2 book lovers who are kind of like enemies and then they become lovers. I think it's like 2 rival bookstore owners and then they kind of start to fall for each other. Just sounds really cute. I love books that are about books, so I'm really excited to read this, and I hope that it is super cute. So next is a spooky book that I recently got. This is by Kendra Blake, and this is All These Bodies. So this book sounds super creepy and so good. It basically says that there's a gruesome killer, 16 bodies completely drained of blood, one impossible explanation, and it says that the only suspect in this bloodless murders is this 15-year-old girl called Marie. She was found at one of the crime scenes covered in blood, and she refuses to talk to anyone or tell anyone what happened, except for this one guy who's the sheriff's son who wants to be a journalist. And it says her time's running out, but she chose him for a reason, and his search for answers is her last chance to finally tell her story, a story that will call into question everything he knows. So yeah, this sounds amazing. It kind of hints towards maybe vampires, and I'm just really excited to read this. Then next we have a witchy book, which is The Year of the Witching. This is Henderson. I've heard so many good things about this and I cannot wait to get to it. Basically we follow Emmanuel, who lives in Brethel, which is like a super religious place. He follows the church and like holy protocol like by the book, and it says that in Brethel where she lives, it was the place that the first prophet pursued and killed 4 powerful witches and so cleansed the land. She ends up going into the dark wood that surrounds Brethel where she lives, which is like forbidden, and it says it's haunted by the spirits of the witches who bestow an extraordinary gift on Emmanuel, the diary of her dead mother. And then obviously she's reading this diary, she's finding out like how corrupt everything is, and it says for the real threat to Brethel is its own darkness, it must change and that change will begin with her. So this sounds so good. I feel like this is probably going to be a really empowering story as well, really dark and really witchy. So I'm very excited to read this one, and it is a really good choice for spooky season. Next I have this stunning Penguins cloth bound edition of Dracula. My lovely boyfriend got me as a gift recently. I've wanted this for so long, and I love collecting Dracula editions. I'm literally obsessed with collecting any editions of both Dracula and Frankenstein because they're always so beautiful and I like having them in my collection. Yeah, I own quite a lot now, but this was one that I've been wanting for ages, so he very kindly bought me it and I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful. Next I have two Junji Itos. So I got Remina, which I recently talked about in a vlog, and this one is like more of a sci-fi one. So it's kind of, when I started it, it reminds me a little bit of Venus in the Blind Spot. And this one, basically we have like an unknown planet that randomly appears and everyone's mesmerized by it, and the scientist who discovers it names after his daughter, but then soon later starts to pick up speed and it's kind of eliminating planets and stars one after another, and it's making its way towards Earth, and then everyone's blaming his daughter for it and she's somehow connected to this planet. Super weird, and it just sounds amazing. So I do want to finish this soon. Then I also picked up his latest, which is Center. This has such a cool cover, and I don't know much about this. I just believe that this is actually another kind of sci-fi vibey book, just like Remina and Venus in the Blind Spot. So I feel like he is going more down a sci-fi route, but I love this edition and I can't wait to read this. Then next we have some kind of dark academia, kind of spooky gothic kind of vibey books. So the first one is The Lost Apothecary. I can never say this word. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, and I've seen a lot of mixed reviews for this, but it just sounds so interesting to me. This one says, a forgotten history, a secret network of women, a legacy of poison and revenge. Welcome to The Lost Apothecary. It's got crackling suspense, unforgettable characters and searing insight. The Lost Apothecary is a submersive and intoxicating debut novel of secrets, vengeance, and the remarkable ways women can save each other despite the barrier of time. So yeah, it sounds really interesting, and I absolutely adore this cover, and it's just giving me those gothic kind of vibes, and I'm in my gothic era right now. Then next we have The Shape of Darkness by Laura Purcell, another stunning gothic cover. It has little scissors all over it, and this one does sound very like atmospheric and spooky. So basically it's set in Victorian Bath, which the setting alone makes me want to read it. We follow Agnes, who's struggling to keep her business afloat. Things aren't going very well for her. She's recovering from a very serious illness, and she's trying to like keep herself going and her elderly mother and her recently orphaned nephew. So things are really tough for her. And then suddenly all of her clients are being murdered and picked off one by one, and obviously like someone's targeting a business, it's making her look like the murderer. So she's like desperate to try and find out what's going on and to like clear her own name and obviously like, you know, kind of protect her clients. So she reaches out to a child medium named Pearl, who she is hoping can try and contact these spirits to find out who's killing them, but then it says that they may have opened the door to something that they're never able to put back. So yeah, this sounds super creepy, super gothic, and yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Then next we have The Library of the Dead, and this is a super gorgeous cover. Really excited for this. Edinburgh hides dark magic and secrets, and Roper's gonna hunt them all down. The adventure starts here. A wind rises in the room with its squeal, and it rushes towards me, mouth wide, open from floor to chin, as though it would eat me. The pages of a magazine flip open as the spectre bears down and stops right in front of my face with a terrible howl. So this sounds so good, and I'm so excited to read this. I've heard really good things. It sounds really spooky, creepy vibes, and yeah. Then next we have Trifelers Need Not Apply by Camilla Bruce, and this is actually based on a true story. So this takes inspiration from a woman, I can't remember her name. This is based on the true story of Bella Gunness, whose violent deeds began in Chicago in 1900. Trifelers Need Not Apply is a novelistic tour de force exploring one woman's determination to pay men back for all they've taken. So it follows a woman who basically goes on a murder spree against men. So yeah, it just sounds really unique, and I like the fact it's inspired by true crime. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this will play out, and yeah, I just think it will be a really interesting read. Then next we have Madame by Phoebe Wynne, and this is a dark academia thriller-esque kind of book. It's set at a boarding school, and it's very dark and gothic. However, I was told by one of my friends that there's a lot of trigger warnings in here for abuse and paedophilia and stuff, which I did not know about before I bought it. But it says it's perfect for fans of Margaret Atwood and Madeline Miller. It's a darkly feminist tale with an electrifying cast of heroines you won't soon forget. I will probably still read it, but just bear that in mind that there probably are a lot of horrible trigger warnings in this book. And next we have Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, and I bought this because of my friend Kat, because she was talking about it and it just sounded amazing. This is another kind of dark academia book. It's set at a school as well, and there was some murders. I think it was like they were stung to death by like wasps or bees or something, and there's like a movie being filmed there or something, and there's like some weird like kind of memoir book with all scandals in and stuff. And then there is like a crew of like actresses doing something there, and yeah, it says the past and present begin to blur. So yeah, it sounds really good, and I love this cover as well, and I just feel like this will be a really interesting read. Next we have The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig, and I'm absolutely obsessed with this cover and the spine. It just sounds so friggin' creepy. It says that a family return to their hometown and to the dark past that haunts them still in this masterpiece of literary horror by the New York Times bestselling author of The Wanderers. So yeah, this is a creepy book, horror story about some creepy house, I think, that might be haunted. Then next we have the new Paula Hawkins, A Slow Fire Burning. So this is the author who wrote A Girl on the Train and I think Into the Deep Water, I think it was called. I think that's what it was called. Basically, I don't know much about this, but I absolutely loved her other two books, so I can't wait to read this one. It is a thriller, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. We have another thriller, which is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I don't know much about this. I just really wanted to get it because I do want to read all of their books this year. I have Final Girls, which has been on my shelf for years and I've still not gotten to, but some of my friends have recently been reading loads of Riley Sager books and it's made me want to read them now. So I saw this in the bookstore and just picked it up. It says it's a game of cat and mouse that's about to play out. In order to win, Charlie must do only one thing: survive the night. So yeah, I think there's like a killer in here, and it's like a horror kind of book as well. So yeah, one passenger, one night, one road trip, one suspected killer behind the wheel. So yeah, it just sounds really creepy. Then next we have this stunning book, which is Letters from the Dead by Sam Hercombe. Look at this cover. This is so cool. This sounds really gothic and dark. It's described as top-notch historical crime fiction as well. Set in 1905, and I think there's some kind of detective and he's like thinks he's being followed by dead people and stuff, and murders happen and other stuff, and it just sounds really creepy and like a really cool kind of mystery book as well. Next we have a book I randomly bought at a secondhand bookshop, and this is a Nikki French book, and this is Land of the Living, and I just really want to read a Nikki French book and they had this one, so I bought it. And yeah, I don't really know anything about it, but I'm going to go into it that way. I don't really want to know anything. I think it's like a thriller crime story, but yeah, I'm really excited to read my first Nikki French book. And next I have a YA thriller, which is The Ivies, and this is by Alexa Dunn, and this basically is about teens who are willing to kill to get into an Ivy League college basically. So it sounds really cool, and I'm really excited to read this as well. Then next I have this proof, which is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. So I really want to read this because I've heard really good things. It says, a cold case, an abandoned mansion, a family hiding a terrible secret, prepare to be hooked. So yeah, this just sounds really cool. It's got yellow sprayed edges, which is really cool as well for like a proof copy. This is already out, and yeah, I just want to read some more Lisa Jewell books, so I'm really happy that I got sent this and I'm looking forward to reading it. And next we have this book here, which is Girl A by Abigail Dean, and this was sent to the bookstore by the publishers because it's going to be the Waterstones book of the month for October. So I decided that I wanted to read it, so I'm planning to read this very soon. And this is a thriller, obviously. It's a story of redemption, of horror and of love. So yeah, this cover is so cool as well. So next we have the third book in a trilogy, I think, which is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. So this is the third book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I still haven't read it yet, but I picked this one up because it's signed, and I do plan to read all of the series very soon. I've heard really good things. It's a YA thriller murder mystery story, so I'm very excited to read this. Then next we have The Return, which is a Titan novel by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So this is a romance inspired by a Greek mythology and the Titans, and yeah, it's supposed to be a dark romance, and it just sounds really good. I love dark romance, and I really like Jennifer L. Armentrout from Blood and Ash, so I thought I would give this one a go as well. Then next I have these books from the A Touch of Darkness series. So these are all by Scarlett St. Clair. I read A Touch of Darkness for one of my Patreon buddy reads, and it's one of my favourite books now, and I loved it. It's a retelling of Hades and Persephone. It's a dark romance, and it was just amazing. So I bought the rest of the series, but I'm yet to read them. So I have A Touch of a Ruin, I have A Game of Fate, and I also have A Touch of Malice as well. So yes, very excited to read these. And next I have The Lost Girls by Sonia Hart, and this is a vampire revenge story. I believe it's sapphic. It says on the back, getting over your vampire ex is as easy as killing him and stealing his girlfriend. So this is obviously very reminiscent of The Lost Boys, which is like very 80s. So excited to read this. I think it's going to be amazing, and I love this cover. Next, another vampire book is A Vampire's Heart and Other Dead Things by Margie Fuston, and this one says you can have a heartbeat and still be dead. And basically it follows this girl whose dad I think is terminally ill with cancer, and they both had a shared love for the undead since the first vampire revealed themselves to exist. And so yeah, vampires exist in this world. So she goes like on this like kind of quest to try and find out like a miracle cure to vampires to help her father. So she goes to New Orleans, she meets this guy there called Henry. She has to complete like a series of challenges in order for him to help her or something. Yeah, that's all I kind of know about it. I just bought it because I love the cover. It's got vampires in it and it just sounds really, really good. Next, I was very kindly gifted this book by one of my lovely subscribers, Fiona, and I love this so much. I haven't read it yet, but I love the cover and the premise and everything. So thank you so much, Fiona, for sending me this book. This is the Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Modolsky, and this just sounds absolutely incredible. I know that Mika loves this book as well, and it says in the inside, high school is a scream. It says, with deliciously dark and submersive humour, New York Times bestselling author Goldie Modolsky exposes the horrors of high school with the precision of a freshly sharpened knife. On the back it has like the club rules on the back as well for the Mary Shelley Club, and on the front it says, a little bit scream, a little bit gossip girl, a pulpy page turn suspenseful read that keeps you up all night. So I'm really excited to read this. It just sounds absolutely amazing, and I really love the title and the cover as well. So thank you, Fiona, for this wonderful book. Next I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. I'm so excited for this. This actually follows a girl called Elizabeth, and she's very, very poor. She's basically kind of starving. She's covered in bruises, and she's very, very close. She's just been thrown out onto the streets basically. And then one day she's brought to the home of Victor Frankenstein, a small solitary boy who has everything except a friend. And it says, Victor has escaped from misery. Elizabeth does everything she can to make herself indispensable, and it works. She's taken in by the Frankenstein family and rewarded with a warm bed, delicious food, and dresses of the finest silk. And then eventually her and Victor become inseparable, but then she finds out that her new life comes at a price. It says, as the years pass, Elizabeth's survival depends on managing Victor's dangerous temper and indulging his every whim, no matter how depraved. Behind her blue eyes and sweet smile lies the calculating heart of a girl determined to stay alive whatever the cost, as the world she knows is consumed by darkness. So yeah, I love the sound of this and the Frankenstein vibes. I love the cover. I'm so excited to read this. I think I'm going to pick this up in October, and yeah, I can't wait. And next we have Phantom Heart by Kelly Trigg, and this is obviously inspired by Phantom of the Opera. It's a paranormal supernatural romance, I believe, and it says it's a modern gothic tale of swooning romance and unexpected twists. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one. Had really good things, and it just sounds really, really interesting. Next we have A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I've spoken about this a few times, but this is basically a sapphic story, I believe. It's got witchcraft in here, and yeah, it just sounds absolutely amazing. It's supposed to be dark academia and gothic. Love this cover, love the witchy vibes, and I'm excited to read this one because I've heard some really, really good things about this book. So next we have another kind of like gothic story, which is Jacoby by William Ritter, and the reason that I bought this is because I've heard this is perfect for fans of Stalking Jack the Ripper, and that is one of my favourite books, so I picked this one up and I'm excited to read it. I don't know a lot about it, I just know that it's got like Sherlock Holmes vibes as well. It's set in 1892 New England, and there's a character called Abigail and one called Jacoby, and Jacoby has like an eye for things kind of like Sherlock Holmes that other people don't necessarily notice. There's a serial killer on the loose as well, and I think they have to figure out like what's going on. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this because, like I said, it was recommended to me because I really enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper, so I can't wait to read this and see if I do love it just as much. Next we have an Angela Carter, which is The Bloody Chamber. From familiar fairy tales and legends, Red Riding Hood, Puss in Boots, Beauty and the Beast, vampires and werewolves, Angela Carter has created an absorbing collection of dark, sensual, fantastic stories, and I love this cover. It's absolutely stunning as well. So yeah, this just sounds like really spooky to read at this time of year. Next we have a Christina Henry's new book, which is The Horseman, and this is inspired by Sleepy Hollow, and this is signed as well. I don't know much about it. at all, but oh wait, where's this? Yeah, there's the signature. I do own her other book as well. I just really wanted to get this because I'm actually going to watch the Sleepy Hollow movie for the first time, and yeah, it's about the horseman in Sleepy Hollow, so I just thought it sounded really cool and like a really spooky read as well. I love the cover, so I'm excited to read this one. It's like a fantasy, almost kind of horror-y kind of story. Then we have Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab, which is the third book in her middle grade series. So this follows City of Ghosts and Tunnel of Bones, and in this we follow Cassidy Blake, who can see and communicate with ghosts, and she travels with her parents who do this kind of paranormal investigative show. They can't actually see ghosts, but she can, and she has like a ghost best friend who helps save her life. And in the first two books, one set in Paris, one in Edinburgh, and she solves like a kind of mystery to do with a ghost there and a spirit. And in this one it is set in New Orleans, so yeah, I'm very excited because New Orleans is like the home of the vampire, and I just think this will be so fun. It's just such a fun, easy, spooky kind of middle grade series, and I'm definitely going to be picking this up in October, and I cannot wait because I love this series so much. Next we have the third book in a trilogy, which is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mehurin, and this is the Fairy Loot exclusive edition to match my other editions. So obviously I'm not going to say what this is about, but Servant and Dove basically follows a witch and a witch hunter, and it has enemies to lovers, the marriage trope. It's really good. I've not read the second book yet, but I'm planning to reread Serpent and Dove, read the second book, and then obviously this book, so I am excited for that because I loved Serpent and Dove. Then next I was sent this, which is The Rose Daughter by Maria Lewis, and it says a child of two worlds, the only hope of both. It says it's a female-led fantasy, and I think it's got a bit of urban fantasy in there. It's got female heroines, world building, a bit of romance. It's perfect for fans of Leigh Bardugo, Sarah J Maas, and Charlene Harris as well. So yes, I was sent this by the publisher, and I really love this as well. Like, look at this cover, it's so cool. Next we have the 10th anniversary edition of one of my all-time favorite books, which is Song of Achilles. I read this at the start of 2020 and it instantly became an all-time favorite. I absolutely fell in love with Madeline Miller's writing, and it's such a beautiful, tragic story, and I love anything inspired by Greek mythology, so of course I had to get my hands on a signed copy of this beautiful edition, and I just love it so much. Oh, the fact I own a book that's been signed by this woman. Just love this. One of my most prized possessions. Then I have The Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews, and this says it's a fresh original spin on classic Greek mythology, an action-packed adventure with phenomenal writing and empowering female characters. This follows Daphne, and she is basically training to become a warrior as well. She's guided by Artemis's twin, and it's a reinterpretation of the classic Greek myth of Daphne and Apollo. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. Love anything inspired by Greek mythology, like I just said. And continuing on with the theme of Greek mythology, I have Women in Troy by Pat Barker. I got myself a signed copy, which I'm very happy about. And I recently read Dance of the Girls, and I really enjoyed that. It was such an interesting take on kind of Achilles as well. I love seeing Achilles from a different perspective, and I'm really excited to read her new book, which is Women of Troy, and I just feel like it will be a really fun read. So next we have The Daughter of Temperance Hobbs by Catherine Howe, and this is another witchy book as well. I just randomly bought this when I was in Forbidden Planet, and this is a bewitching story of a New England professor who must race against time to break a family curse. I believe the author actually studied witchcraft in real life as well, and it's like historical, and yeah, it just sounds really fun. I love my witchy books, so I picked this one up. Then next I randomly got this in a charity shop, which is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon, and I've heard so many things about this book, and I just thought I'd buy it. When I saw it in a charity shop and it was £1, I was like, I may as well get it. I honestly don't know what it's about, but it's just been recommended to me so many times, so yes, maybe one day I will eventually read it. Then next we have The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. This is another one that I've heard about a lot, so I saw this in a charity shop and decided to pick it up. And I believe this kind of is historical fiction, and that Jessie Burton is a beautiful writer, which is the only reason I bought it. So yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I think I will go into this not knowing much and with an open mind, because it's not usually a book I would read, and I am branching out more into fiction, so I have heard so many good things about this, so I decided to get it when I saw it in the charity shop. Then another charity shop buy is The Buried Giant by Kazuko Ishiguro. So again, another one I wouldn't normally read, but I really want to dip into more translated fiction. This author is an absolutely beautiful writer, so I just thought I would buy it and give it a go. Don't know much about it at all, but yeah, it's just one of those books that always seems to pop up, so I do want to read it one day. Next, I have An Instance of the Finger Post by Ian Piers, and this says on the front, lust, betrayal, secrets and murder. So this is a dark academia book, and this is set in Oxford, I think, in the 1660s as well. I think someone is murdered and there's 4 different witnesses and we all follow their perspective. So yeah, just the fact it's set in Oxford and it's kind of a murder mystery in Oxford is the only reason I bought it, and I'm so excited to read it one day because I love anything that's set in Oxford. And next, I have these 2 random books I bought in a used bookstore. So I have Sweetly, and I also have Sisters Red by Jackson Pierce, and I think one of them, I think this one has werewolves in it. These are werewolf stories. I honestly don't know much about them, but they just sounded a bit spooky and I really like the covers, so I bought them. Then I have a romance, which is You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I was sent this by the publisher. I haven't read anything by this author yet, but I do want to read Beach Read, and I've heard really good things. And this says 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, their chance to fall in love. So yeah, this is a romance. I think it's a rom-com, and yeah, I've heard really good things about Emily Henry and that she's a really good romance writer, so I'm very excited to read this one. And another romance is a sapphic one, which is After Love, and this is by Tanya Byrne, and I got this in a fairy loot box. It is signed and has sprayed edges, and yeah, I've heard really good things about this as well, and I think this has supernatural vibes in it as well. Yeah, it says not even death will tear them apart, so I can't wait to read this. It sounds really good. Next, we have one I bought in London, and this is The Princess Will Save You, and this is by Sarah Henning, and this says it's a first love, sweeping adventure, and a fierce heroine who holds her own. So this sounds really good. This to me was pitched to me as being good for fans of Sarah J Maas, which is the main reason I bought it. I don't know much about it, but it is a YA, and yeah, I want to read it because apparently Sarah J Maas fans will like it. Next is a really spooky horror kind of book, and that is House of Furies by Madeline Rue. I don't know a lot about this. I just remember seeing it online once and I was like, oh my god, like I think I will like that, and it just kind of like sparked that memory when I saw it in the bookshop when I was in Oxford, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it. And it says it's a devious, fun, weird and scary, heartbreaking and triumphant. I think there's some like creepy house and it's a gothic horror. That's all I know about it. I'm obsessed with this cover. As soon as I heard gothic horror, I was like, yep, I'm sold. So I'm excited to read this, maybe during spooky season. So I have this thriller, which is Dark and Shallow Lies, and I was sent this by the publisher. This is by Ginny Myers-Assane, and it says, a missing girl, a town full of psychics, a secret that won't stay buried. Coming of age thriller that will put you deep into the dark, explosive heart. So yeah, this sounds really creepy. Love this cover, and yeah, I really like YA thrillers, and I really want to have like a little like a binge of loads of YA thrillers at some point, so this is definitely one that I will pick up. And next I have this book I randomly bought in a secondhand bookstore. I don't even know why I bought this, I just really like the cover. It says The Ghost of Lily Painter by Caitlin Davies, a binding novel of mystery and dark scandal, and it's a Victorian novel, I think. Just sounded really spooky. It's got ghosts in it and stuff, and yeah, I really like the cover. Then we have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. So I want to read both of Shirley Jackson's books, and I saw this and I was like, yep, I really want that. I love the dappled edges as well, and I believe this is like a really creepy story. It's a classic, or well, a modern classic. Next we have The Library of the Unwritten, which is a fantasy kind of horror-y story. I think this is set in hell, and it's to do with like unfinished books and stuff, and then there's like a librarian there, and her job is to like make sure that everything stays in the book and characters don't escape and blah blah blah. And then it says a hero escapes from the book and goes in search of his author. Claire must track and capture him with the help of former muse and current assistant Brevity and nervous demon Cortea Lelito. But what should have been a simple retrieval goes horrifyingly wrong. A case that threatens to reshape the boundaries between heaven, hell and earth. So yeah, this sounds so good. I love this cover, and I just think this will be a really like kind of unique story, and it just sounds absolutely incredible. So these next couple I've spoken about in a vlog, so I'm not really going to go into what they're about, but we have Four Dead Queens by Astrid Scott, and this says One Big Lie, Two Forbidden Romances, 3 Days to Catch a Killer. So this is like a murder mystery, YA and romance all blended into a book, and it just sounds really captivating. And we have The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, and this is one that I've wanted for a long time. This is recommended to me as well, and this basically follows Mary Jekyll, and she's like alone and penniless after her parents' death, and she looks into their past and finds a clue. This former friend and murderer may be nearby, and there's Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson in here as well, so it just sounds really, really cool. Love this cover, and I've heard really good things on BookTube about this, so I hope that I do love it just as much as everyone else seems to. Then we have The Blood Countess by Lana Popovic, and I was recommended this as a fan of Stalking Jack the Ripper. Again, don't know much about it, but it just sounds really creepy and interesting. I love this cover, so I got it, and I'm just going to go into this not knowing much and just be pleasantly surprised of where the story takes me. So next we have a sort of dark academia kind of story, and that is Death in the Latin Quarter by Raphael Cardetti. And this just sounds really, really cool. It's a crime novel. It says, early one morning in Paris, the tranquility of the Sorbonne University is shattered by a death. But why would Albert Cadas, a quiet, crumpled professor of medieval literature, have any reason to kill himself? And then it says, there's someone trying to restore a priceless manuscript whose time-worn pages promise to reveal the truth of a mystery that has fascinated scholars and writers for centuries. Valentine soon learns that the shadowy figures who seek to possess the book's secrets are darker and more ruthless than she ever imagined, and finds herself on a terrifying and thrilling adventure through the narrow streets and gloomy palatal mansions of the Latin Quarter. So yeah, this just sounds really, really good. I'm excited to read this, and it is quite floppy, which I also like. Then we have Dracula the Undead, which is by Zachary Stoker and Ian Holt, and this says it's based on Bram Stoker's own notes. This authorised sequel is written by a direct descendant of Stoker and a well-known Dracula historian. Fast-paced, full of suspense, and rich with historical detail, Dracula the Undead will captivate admirers of Gothic literature. So I do plan to read Dracula soon, so I bought this because I will want to read this after I finish it. And I just think it's really cool that this is a kind of sequel, and yeah, it will be really fun to read. Then I recently picked up this because this sounds like a really gothic kind of piece of fiction, and that is The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. So yeah, I just read the blurb in the bookstore and I thought it sounded really cool. It's really gothic and dark, and that's kind of all I know about it. That in London in 1831, she ends up finding herself dragged into the blackest heart of the city. Little does she know that something more depraved than she could ever imagine is lurking. So it just sounds really dark and gothic, and I really love the cover as well. It sounds a little bit spooky, so I picked it up. We have The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, and I cannot wait to read this. This basically has a librarian and a Dracula in it, and that's kind of all I know. That's all I need to know. Very excited to pick this one up. I may read this very, very soon. To you perceptive reader, I bequeath my history. So yeah, it just sounds really, really interesting. So I just went and quickly made a cup of tea because this has taken me a long time. Let's just like continue. I'm going to try and speed it up a bit as well because I'm only halfway through and still have so many books to talk about. Next book I have this super random one. Don't really know exactly what it's about, but it was in the pound shop, so I bought it. And it's called Red Ribbon. It's by Lucy Adlington, and it says every dress she makes could mean the difference between life and death. It's like really cool because it has like this opening like this. It's like almost magnetic, and it has really cool end papers, and it just sounds quite spooky. I'll put this here and you guys can pause and read the synopsis. But yeah, it was £1. So it sounded quite creepy, quite interesting, and for £1, like, why wouldn't I? Next, Chicken House Publishing very kindly sent me this book here, which is Every Line of You by Naomi Gibson, and this is a gripping psychological thriller. So we have The Shadow in the Glass, and this is by J.J.A. Harwood, and I love this cover. I'm pretty sure this is inspired by Cinderella. Our main character in here is called Ella, and she's forced to work under her horrible stepfather. And her only refuge is the books that she reads by candlelight. Wishes are finally answered, and at the stroke of midnight, a fairy godmother makes her an offer that will change her life. 7 wishes, hers to make as she pleases. Joy, opportunity, comfort, and even love are within her reach once more. Each wish comes at a price, and Ella must decide whether it's one she's willing to pay. So this is like a dark spin on Cinderella, and I just think it sounds really good, and I really, really love retellings. Next we have The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. This is a Illumicrate edition with these stunning sprayed edges. This is a dark, evocative, and unforgettable fantasy debut steeped in Hungarian history and Jewish mythology. Perfect for fans of Naomi Novik and Catherine Arden. I'm not going to go into too much more about it. I'm trying to keep it brief, but I believe this is an absolutely amazing book, and it's giving me kind of cozy vibes, and I feel like this will be perfect to read in winter. So I think I'm going to save it for like November, December time and then pick it up then, but I cannot wait wait to read this. So next I was kindly sent this book by the publisher, and this is The Red Gloves and Other Stories by Catherine Fisher, and this is what it looks like here. Love this hardback, it's so spooky. And it says, red gloves that reach for your throat, a changing room where a stranger wants to swap lives with you, a white hair that won't leave you alone, a ghost in the rain. An expert storyteller weaves 9 chilling spells of fear mixed with wit, heart and magic. Inspired by ancient British myths and legends, these stories will enchant all those drawn to the spooky and strange. So yeah, this is basically just a bunch of spooky stories. So excited to read this. It's just, oh, I'm so excited. And you even get a little ribbon with this book too, and I always love it when you get a ribbon with a book. And next we have this book here, which is Untold Night and Day by Bodicia, and this is a translated fiction, I believe. It says it's a hypnotic, disorientating story of parallel lives unfolding over a day and a night of the sweltering soul summer. Yes, I don't know much about this. I saw Emmy from Emmy Reads talk about this in one of her vlogs. She said it had some of the most beautiful writing she'd ever read, and that's what sucked me into reading this. I'm trying to read at my comfort zone, more so next year, so I'm stocking up on some books now, but early next year I want to start getting out of my comfort zone and reading more fiction and translated fiction. And as soon as I heard her talking about this, it just sounded incredible, and I decided to finally get it. So I'm saving this for spring. I feel like for some reason I just want to read this in the springtime. It sounds like an incredible story and just really, really unique, so I'm very excited to read it. If anyone's read this, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one, and hopefully it's worth stepping out my comfort zone for. So this next book I have shown in a vlog recently, but that is The Cat Who Saved Books by Suzuki Natsuawa, and this is a brand new author. I'm pretty sure this is her debut. This is a wonderful signed copy, and I'm so happy I managed to get my hands on this. This story sounds so lovely as well. Basically we have this guy who's called Taro, and he has basically been brought up in this bookstore. It's like his safe space, his refuge. He's been brought up there by his grandfather, who owns the bookshop, and his grandfather sadly passes away, and obviously he's dealing with immense grief and loss, and he just doesn't know what to do anymore. He doesn't know how to keep the bookshop going. And then one day this cat called Tiger appears, and he asks him for help, and he says he needs a book lover to help him on his mission to rescue books from people who have imprisoned, mistreated and betrayed them. It says, finally there is one last rescue that Rintaro must attempt alone. The Cat Who Saved Books is a heartwarming story about finding courage, caring for others and the tremendous power of books. So I just feel like this sounds like a lovely cozy story. This is one I'm going to save for near Christmas time. I really like reading like kind of heartwarming things around that time of year, and I just feel like this will be really nice to curl up with and read, and will just be really comforting. So I'm very excited to read this, and this is just the cutest like cover and like story ever. Next, this one is featured in my come book shopping video with me, but this is Poems Bewitched and Haunted, and this is by Everyman's Library Pocket Poems, and this is just a collection of spooky poetry, poems about ghosts, witches, all those kinds of things. I'm absolutely obsessed with this, one of my favourite books I own, and I'm very excited to read this in the upcoming spooky season. Next is a classic horror book, and that is The Woman in Black by Suzanne Hill. I've never read this book before. I have seen the movie, but this is like one of the most famous ghost stories ever, and I just saw this edition. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and that I just had to have it, so I bought it, and I cannot wait to read this one day because this is the ghost story. Like, it's the ghost story of all ghost stories, and I'm just really excited to read this book, and yeah, I love this edition. So next is a Penguin cloth-bound classic, and this unfortunately just has a bit of mark on it. I need to try and get off, and I hope it comes off. It's just from when we moved. I was very kindly gifted this by Sarah Ray, so thank you so much for gifting me this gorgeous book. It's an absolute beautiful looking book, and it's a book that I've wanted to read for the longest time. I don't read classics often, but this is definitely one of the classics I want to start with because I've been recommended to do so a few times, and from the quotes I've seen and the things I know about this story, I feel like I will really enjoy this. This edition is just so beautiful, so I'm so happy to have this, and it looks gorgeous on my shelf, so thank you so much for gifting me this. I don't think I said, but it's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, so I don't think I need to go into what this is about because I feel like most people have heard of this book before, but yeah, I'm obsessed with this edition. These next two books I was very kindly sent by the publisher, and that is Dark Fairy Tales of Fearless Women by Rosalind Kirvan and Treasury of Folklore, Woodlands and Forests, Wild Gods, Wild Trees, and Werewolves, Dee Cherney and Willow Wincham. These are both absolutely beautiful books. Look at these. Gorgeous foiling, and these are perfect for anyone who loves mythology and legends and folklore and all of that stuff. I would definitely recommend both of these books. They are so beautiful, and they are illustrated as well with the most stunning illustrations ever. I love these so much. So this one has tales that are supernatural. It says enter a world in which magic exists, hope triumphs, and everyone's heart is alive with courage. This is a fairy tale collection for our times, with stories that take you through Africa, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, North and South America, and the Pacific. This just sounds absolutely incredible. And then this one here is an enthralling collection of myths and folk tales and traditions surrounding our trees, woodlands and forests from around the world. And again, absolutely beautiful, werewolves and everything in here. So I'm obsessed with both of these, and I just love them. I'm so happy I have these up on my shelf. They are so gorgeous. Like, look at the spines as well. Like, they're just so pretty. I love them. Then next I have this book I recently got, which is Fairies, A Dangerous History by Richard Sugg. So this is literally what it says on the front. It covers all the different interpretations of fairies throughout history and the different ways, different cultures and people have kind of interpreted fairies as to what they are, and like the magic and the myths and everything that surrounds them. And I just think this is going to be really fun and interesting to read, and I love this cover so much as well. And yeah, I just thought this would be like a really interesting non-fiction, and I wanted it for my collection. So next we have this Greek mythology book, which is The Gods, Goddesses and Heroes Handbook, and this is by Liv Albert. And again, I love anything to do with Greek mythology, so I got this. There is just a simple breakdown of all the gods and goddesses. It's beautiful inside. It has really nice illustrations. It just tells you some basic information about all of the goddesses and gods throughout Greek mythology, and it is absolutely beautiful. Then I have this Proof by Charlotte Higgins, which is Greek Myths, a new retelling. I need to buy a finished copy of this. I haven't read this yet, but I'm very excited to. And it says it's a spellbinding new collection that reinterprets some of the most enduring stories of all time, printed in colour and including 18 original drawings by British Turner Prize winning painter Chris Offaly. And yeah, this is just all about the Greek myths, and it will have lots of illustrations in the final copy. So again, another one for my Greek mythology collection that I'm really happy about. This next book I bought from a charity shop, and that is The Book of the Moon by Rick Stroud. And this is literally just everything about the moon. It's history, it's myths, legends, you name it. It's all in here, and I'm obsessed with the moon, hence my channel name. When I saw this in the charity shop, I couldn't not get it. So I'm really happy that I have this. It's just kind of cool to flick through, and yeah, I love it. And I have this book here that I recently bought from a charity shop, and I got this really randomly, but I just thought this was so beautiful, and I'm never going to read this, but it was just such a stunning book, and I just feel like it's such a cool little thing to keep that like will be from like another time. Like, I don't know, I'd love to pass it down to my children one day. But this is Love, Romances of the Aristocracy, and it's a Thornton Hall book. It has the most beautiful spine as well. This is what it looks like. It doesn't have a date inside, but I would probably guess maybe 100 years old. I don't know how old exactly it is, but I just think it's a stunning book, so I'm really glad that I got it. Then one of my wonderful patrons, Vanessa, very kindly gifted me this as a housewarming present, which is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales of the Brothers Grimm, and this is a Canterbury Classics edition. This has been on my wish list for a long time, and I'm so happy that I finally own this. It's absolutely beautiful. I love collecting different editions of the Brothers Grimm, so I'm so happy that I finally have this one. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for getting me this, and I just love it so much. Then next we have Visions of the Vampire, 2 Centuries of Immortal Tales, and this is by the British Library, and this is just literally what it says. It's different tales to do with vampires, and I just wanted this in my collection. I think it's an absolutely beautiful book. Then next I have this other edition of the Brothers Grimm that I found in a second-hand bookshop, and this is Tales of the Brothers Grimm. It's by Clarissa Pinkola Estes PhD, and it has deckled edges, and it has black and white illustrations inside, and I just never seen this edition before, so I got it for my collection. Then recently I got this book, which is A History of Magic, Witchcraft and the Occult, and this is by DK Publishing. I've started reading this and I'm really enjoying it so far. If you're looking for a good introduction into magic and witchcraft and just the history of it, then I would recommend this already, because it's been so informative in those first 20 pages, and I'm just really enjoying it. Then I have a proof here, which I was very kindly sent, and this comes out in January 2022, and this is called Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan, and this is actually inspired by Chinese mythology, and this is a stunning proof. Look how beautiful this is. I'm so excited for this book. It's all about the moon goddess as well, which, yeah, I cannot wait. It says on the front, there are many legends about my mother. Some say she betrayed her husband to become a goddess, others depict her as an innocent. Whichever story you believe, my mother became immortal, as did I. And yeah, it's romantic and enthralling. So you can pre-order this. I know Waterstones has them available to pre-order. I'm so excited to read this. I'm definitely going to pick this up soon, and I'm really excited to read a book inspired by Chinese mythology. Continuing on with the theme of mythology, I did recently get this new edition of Ariadne by Jennifer Satan that's been released. So this is a beautiful signed copy that is available at waterstones.com, and obviously the original had the blue cover and this one just has the white cover. It's just a new edition they've brought out and it's absolutely gorgeous, so I had to have it, and I'm really happy that I have this for my collection. Then next I got this book here, which is Beast and Beauty, Dangerous Tales by Suman Chanini, and this is basically a collection of really dark kind of fairy tales. So yeah, it's a fantasy, it's adult, and it's just all dark stories, and it has some really cool illustrations in here as well. So I'm really excited to read this, and I got a signed copy at Waterstones. Next I have this anniversary edition of Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Don't really need to go into what this is about, it's just an anniversary edition. Got it at Waterstones. Just wanted it for my Cassandra Clare collection. Then I have some books I recently got in some book boxes. She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. And I've heard really amazing things about this one, and this is such a stunning edition. A look at the sprayed edges as well. So I'm really excited to read that. And then I also have 2 copies of Six Crimson Cranes, and this is by Elizabeth Lim. So I have the standard hardcover edition that I pre-ordered, which looks like this. And then I have this beautiful Fairy Loot edition, which looks like this here. Then next I have one pretty much everyone I think knows this book, and this is supposed to be like a kind of new Twilight, and this is A Crave by Tracy Wolff. So this is a vampire, I think, love story. It's set at like a school and there's vampires and werewolves or something. I don't know an awful lot about it, but I'm planning to read this in October and I'm really excited. So I have this one so far, and obviously if I enjoy it I will pick up the other 2 books in the series. I think there's 2. So next we have Dracula. This is by Jack Rusoka and JD Barker, and this is a lot of information that was kind of not included in Dracula. It has a lot of like history about Dracula and Bram Stoker and how he wrote it and his intentions when he released Dracula. It says this reveals not only Dracula's true origin but Bram Stoker's and the tale of the enigmatic woman who contacts them. So yeah, this is just supposed to be an incredible book, and I'm really happy that I have this. I need to take the sticker off. This is an ex-library copy I got online because I wanted this in the hardcover. And it is a stunning book. Like, I'm really excited to read this. So I think once I've read Dracula I am going to read this, and I'm planning to read Dracula soon, so I'm really excited to own this book. Then next I have A Dangerous Women by Hope Adams. I think I've spoken about this before, but this just follows a group of women on a boat, I think in London in 1841, and they're all women who've been like convicted of petty crimes and things like that, and then someone on the boat is murdered. There's like a desperate hunt for the killer, and everyone on board is a suspect. So it's kind of like a thriller. It's apparently based on the real life voyage of a convict ship as well. It has these beautiful end papers and it is a signed copy. Then I have A Blackwater Sister by Zhen Cho, and honestly I don't know much about this one. I pre-ordered it. This cover as well, by the way, is just beautiful, but I believe it's set in Malaysia as well, and I think it involves a girl and her recently deceased grandmother. And I have another book from a recent Fairy Loot box, which is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I've spoken about this in a vlog before. So this is basically another fairy kind of story. It is perfect for fans of Sarah J Maas, I'm told, and it says in the front here, go to the Sealy Court, find the Queen's secret portal to enter the most dangerous place in fairy, find my sister and rescue her from a power-hungry king. Child's Play. So I believe this has enemies to lovers in here. There's a bit of romance, it's fantasy, there's fairies, and yeah, it sounds really fun, and I will probably love it. I have this Fairy Loot edition. I think it's Fairy Loot anyway. I don't know which is Illumicrate, which is Fairy Loot. So I have this edition of From Blood and Ash, which is so beautiful, and then I do have the other 3, but I have unboxed them in a recent reading vlog, so I'll have that linked here if you guys want to watch that, because I can't be bothered getting them off the shelf. They are stunning. You get all 3 books for the entire series. So this is this edition, and it has the most gorgeous stenciling under the dust jacket. It's so pretty. I absolutely love it, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. Yeah, I do have the other, I think it's the Illumicrate set as well, but like I said, I just don't want to take them off my shelf right now, and I have showed them in a vlog. Then next I have showed these in my come book shopping video with me, so I'm not really going to talk about them too much. This is the second book in the Greta Helsing series, and this is Dreadful Company. So yeah, I'm not going to go into what it's about. I haven't got the first book yet. I'm going to go and buy it soon. But this is a fantasy series and it's inspired by Van Helsing. I have this middle grade, which is The Haunting of Evelyn Jones, and this basically follows a girl who's obsessed with ghost stories, and one day she finds this book who belongs to this missing girl who randomly vanished. So she decides to investigate the disappearance, but there's something really dark looking for her now because of that. So this is basically just a really spooky middle grade, and it just sounds amazing, and I'm really excited to read this one. And then next I have this random book I got in the pound shop, and this is the case book of Victor Frankenstein by Peter Ackroyd. I know nothing about this. The only reason I bought it is because it mentions Frankenstein. Then next we have Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendra Blake, and I believe this is just like a really creepy YA story. It's about a girl who is dead and she's like a ghost, and she's like quite murderous, and then she meets this ghost hunter called Cass, and yeah, it's just a little bit different. It says at the bottom, just your average boy meets girl, girl kills people story. So yeah, this sounds really good. I love this cover, it's super spooky, so I might read this during October. Then next I have this book here, which is The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp, and I was very kindly sent this by Steph, and yeah, everyone is talked about this book, I feel like. It basically follows a girl called Nora, and she was like a con artist, and then there's like a bank robbery where she is, and then it says at the bottom, the gunmen have no idea who I really am. That girl has been in hiding for far too long. So I feel like she somehow like saves everyone during this bank robbery or something. It just sounds really cool and like a really fast-paced read. Then next we have The Diviners by Libba Bray, and this sounds like a book I'm gonna absolutely love. I'd never really looked into what it was about before. I just saw it in the bookstore and I was like, right, I'm gonna get it. In this we follow Evie, and she ends up moving to New York City, and there she has an uncle with an unhealthy obsession with the occult. He's worried that he's going to discover a dark secret, which is that she has supernatural powers. And then there's a murdered girl with like this weird like occultish looking symbol, and she realizes she could actually help like catch the killer. And it's basically about her obviously like going on this kind of journey to figure out who the killer is and like her supernatural abilities and stuff, and it just sounds really, really cool, and I've heard like a lot of people talk about this, to be honest. Next we have The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis. I don't know much about this. I have spoken about this in a video before, so I'm not going to go into it. I just know that it's YA, and it says if you like fierce heroines, brooding heroes, forbidden romance, and action-packed and magical adventures with twists you'll never see coming, don't miss The Raven and the Dove. So yeah. Then I have this book I got in a charity shop, which has the most random cover I've ever seen in my life, which is called The Merciful Women, translated by Alberto Manguel. It was 50p. Very random cover, but this is basically a vampire story, I believe, and that's all I know about it. I just randomly bought it. It's like a horror vampire story. So we have The Witches of New York by Amy McKay, which I very briefly started reading. Not necessarily vibing with the writing style, but I'm willing to give it a go. It's set in New York City in the spring of 1880, and it kind of takes place in like a tea shop where there's like spiritual like things going on. I don't really know how to describe what this is about. It's a bit of a weird one, but this is it here. It has the coolest cover I've ever seen in my life. But if you go online and just search for it, or you can pause here and read the synopsis there. Yeah, I just randomly bought it. Then next we have this proof here, which is called The Whistling by Rebecca Netley, and this is basically a super eerie gothic story. This comes out in October, so by the time this video goes up it'll probably be out. But is this house haunted by the ghosts of the past or the secrets of the living? So yeah, this sounds so freaking creepy and absolutely amazing, and look how stunning this proof is. Like, I'm so excited to read this. This is just going to be perfect for spooky season. Then next I have this copy of If We Were Villains by ML Rio, and this is the new signed edition. I got this at Waterstones, and it's just a really cute small edition. I've never read this, but this is the Dark Academia of Dark Academia. Like, everyone who talks about Dark Academia has read this book. I haven't, and I don't know much of what it's about either, and to be honest, I would like to keep it that way. When I do read this, I want to go into it with absolutely no clue what it's about, and I just want to go in and just see if I like it, and that's what I plan to do. But I feel like I don't really need to introduce this book because I feel like everyone is aware of it and knows what it's about. So yeah, If We Were Villains. Then next I have Abandoned by Meg Cabot. So I got this because it was £1 in the pound store, and this just sounds like a really dark paranormal romance, and yeah, it's YA, it's cheesy, it's cliche. I will probably love it. Next we have White is for Witching by Helen Oyemi, and the only reason I bought this is because it's described on the back as atmospheric and really lyrical, which are two things I really like in a book. I don't know much else about it, just that it's a really creepy, eerie piece of fiction. I'm not sure really if anyone has talked about this on BookTube before. I may have missed it if they have, but yeah, I'd never really heard of it until I saw it in the charity shop. It sounds super creepy. Now I don't know where the other one's gone, but I have book 1, 3 and 5 in this series, and there is a reason for that. So this is the Wheel of Time series, and this is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. So I actually do want to get the entire series and read it one day, and the reason I've decided to buy them now is because they are switching these editions out to the ugly the ugly Amazon editions with the horrible stickers on, which I don't want. So I'm trying to buy them now while they're still available, although some of them are already out of print. So I only have books 1 to 5 at the moment. I don't know where the 5th one is. It's somewhere in this room. But yeah, I saw the trailer for the Amazon show and it actually looked amazing, and it's now made me want to read the series. So yeah, I have books 1, 3 and 5, and I'm going to pick up the rest from work soon. I don't actually know a lot of what this is about. I just know it's a fantasy series. So yes, I don't think I need to go into what it's about because I feel like anyone on Fantasy BookTube has probably read that series. Just found book 5. Okay, so next we have The Dark Heroine, Dinner with a Vampire by Abigail Gibbs, and this is basically a really gothic book and I'm really excited. So this follows Violet Lee, and it says a chance encounter on a darkened street draws her into a world beyond her wildest imaginings, a timeless place of vast elegance and immeasurable wealth, of beautiful mansions and lavish parties where a decadent group of friends live for pleasure alone, a place from which there is no escape no matter how hard a Violet tries. Yet all the riches in the world can't mask the darkness that lies beneath the gilded surface, embroidered in the charismatic but dangerous Caspar Vaughn. Violet and Caspar surrender to a passion that transcends their separate worlds, but a passion that comes at a price. So I'm pretty sure this is a dark vampire romance, and look at this cover. Oh, love it. So I'm really excited about this book, and I've never heard anyone talk about it before, so I feel like maybe it's quite underrated. But yeah, it seems like it'll be a really fun read. And next I have these books here. I can't remember which is the second and which is the third, but these are by Maureen Johnson, and this is The Name of the Star, and it's a Shades of London series. So I have The Name of the Star, which is about Jack the Ripper, and these are all paranormal ghosty stories. I have The Shadow Cabinet, and I also have The Madness Underneath as well. I bought this because it involves Jack the Ripper, and I just like anything with Jack the Ripper in. I just find it fascinating, so I'm really excited to see what this is about. There's a quote on the front by Cassandra Clare that says a gorgeously written, chilling, atmospheric thriller. So yeah, I have these. And lastly, I just have a few manga to show you guys and graphic novels. So I have this graphic novel here, which is by Jomi Sun. So I got this because my friend Chloe from Books with Chloe talking about this, and she put it on her Instagram story, and I messaged her like, oh my god, should I get it? And she said yes, so I bought it, and it looks so cute. And some of the quotes that she put on her story as well, like, it just sounded so relatable. So this is just a cute little graphic novel, and I'm really excited to read this. I think I might read this when I do a 24-hour readathon. So yeah, it seems really cute. And I picked up this manga recently because it was on a romance manga list that I saw, and this is called Fiancé of the Wizard, and this basically says went looking for magic but found love instead, and it's a romance between someone and a wizard, and it just seems like it will be a really cute manga. So yeah, I don't know when I'll read this, but it's supposed to be cute, so I shall give it a go. And next I got volumes 2 to 6 of Waiting for Spring, because I read volume 1 when I went to stay with Kat, and I fell in love with it. The cutest romance, like, oh, yeah, it was so cute. I'm going to reread it, and then I plan to binge all of these volumes. There's a lot more volumes, but these are just the ones I've gotten so far, and they did take a while to come because they're in and out of print. But I'm going to reread the first volume and then binge all of these, and I'm so excited because I loved it so much and it's just so cute. So yeah, I'm very happy that I have these. Then next I have 5 centimeters per second, and this is actually a film. I haven't watched the film yet, but I do want to read the manga, and this is supposed to be quite a cute manga as well. It looks absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to read this. Then, because I recently read volume 1 and 2 of Orange and adored it, and then I know there's this one which is like a sequel, and it's kind of a spin-offy one, and this is called Orange Future. So I got this one, and it's just a little short one, so I plan to read this soon. A lot of people say to skip this one and that it's rubbish, but I do still want to read it, and they had it in the bookshop when I was with Kat and Lily, so I bought it and I'm excited for it. Then lastly I have this graphic novel which I have shown in a vlog, and that is Speak by Emily Carroll, and I was told that this is actually based off a book. I've never read a book. It's not by Emily Carroll, it's illustrated by Emily Carroll, but it's by Laurie Halls Anderson, and she wrote the book. I've never read the book, and I think there's a film. I've not seen that either, but this is all about, I think, sexual abuse. So there's a lot of trigger warnings as well, and it's a very kind of powerful story about someone speaking out against it. But I only bought it originally because Emily Carroll's my favourite illustrating graphic novels, and she'd illustrated this. But I'm actually really excited to read this because there was so many comments on that vlog saying that it's such an incredible story. So I'm very excited to read this, and I think I'll save this for a 24-hour readathon as well. But yes, that does conclude this very big book haul. If you made it to the end, well done. Seriously, like, I don't even know how I've made it through doing this. Like, I've recorded for like 3 hours, I think. So how I'm going to shorten this into one like small video, I do not know. But if you made it this far, seriously, well done. Leave an emoji in the comment. Leave a book emoji or some form of emoji in the comment to let me know you made it to the end. Like, I'm just astounded if anyone's still here at this point. Yeah, if you have read any of the books that I've mentioned, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to chat to you about them. And also, if there's any books I've mentioned in this video that you're now planning to read, also let me know, like, which ones caught your interest, because I feel like there might have been 1 or 2 books that I haven't seen people talk about on BookTube before, so hopefully people have found maybe some new books to read. But yes, very big book haul. I don't know when I'll be doing another book haul now. I do have some money saved on my loyalty card at Waterstones, so I may obviously go and spend that, I don't know. And I do still have quite a lot of pre-orders for the rest of the year, so there may be another smaller book haul before Christmas. If not, my next book haul will probably be like my Christmas book haul, but we shall see. I don't know. This is a very big book haul. Like I said, this is all from the last few months, but I hope that you guys did enjoy this video anyways. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up, and if you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. I will try to put all these books in the description box. I won't be able to leave links because there won't be enough room, but I will at least put the title and the author in there so you guys can search it and find out more if you would like to. But yes, I really do hope you did enjoy this. If you're looking for any extra content from me, I do have a Patreon where I upload extra videos such as reading vlogs, decor videos. I'm going to be doing like a Christmas decor video soon, and like Halloween stuff as well. We do a monthly buddy read, and we have a Discord, and I upload behind the scenes photos. So sometimes I upload photos of my book hauls on there when I buy books and other things like that. So if you're interested in any of that, then you can head to the link in the description box. But yes, I hope you're all safe and well. I hope you're reading lots of good books, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!